Okay, we have lesson 19, and this is section 7.3. And we're working with double angle and half angle and product and some formulas. So let's take a look at these formulas here. Double angle formulas. Okay, so here we want to, for the formula for sine, is sine 2x is equal to 2 sine x times cosine x. Okay, so sine only has one formula, but cosine has 3 different formulas that you can choose from. So cosine is a little bit more diverse. And most of the times you can use any one of the 3 and still get the same answer. Okay, so you can choose whichever one you like to use. Which one is a little bit easier for you to use, and just go with that. So the first one is cosine 2x, and that equals to cosine squared x minus sine squared x. So here you're going to square your value for whatever your angle is. Next you have 1 minus 2 sine squared x, and then the other one is 2 cosine squared x minus 1. So we have 1 minus 2 sine squared x, and then this is 2 cosine squared x minus 1. One of them is sine, the other one's cosine. Okay? So just remember that you have 1 minus 2 sine squared, and the other one is 2 cosine squared minus 1. And then for tangent, the double angle formula for tangent is tangent 2x is 2 tangent x over 1 minus tangent squared x. Alright. Okay, formulas for lowering powers. Here we have sine squared x is 1 minus cosine 2x over 2. Now if we look back over here, if we were to take cosine squared and if we took sine squared, we can use 1 minus cosine 2x over 2. And cosine squared is 1 plus cosine squared cosine 2x over 2. And then tangent is just sine over cosine. The half angle formulas, we have sine u over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine u over 2. And cosine u over 2 is plus or minus 1 plus cosine, the square root of 1 plus cosine u over 2. And then tangent, you can use one or the other. Tangent u over 2 is 1 minus cosine u over sine u, or sine u over 1 plus cosine u. Now the plus or minus for cosine, sine over u, the half angle formulas for sine or cosine, you have a plus or minus there. And that plus or minus depends on which quadrant you're in for your original angle. Okay, so u over 2, that's your original angle, and I'll show you how you're going to find u, which is inside your formula. And it's easy to do that. Okay, so let's take a look at some problems. And here we have, to start with, in class we did problem 6 together. So we'll go ahead and start off with problem 6 again, and then we'll do the other parts. So this is lesson 19, section 7.3. Okay, on problem 6, we had secant x equals to 2. Now, if cosine x equals to adjacent over hypotenuse, right, in a triangle, here's adjacent, hypotenuse, opposite side, here's angle x, secant x is hypotenuse over adjacent. Okay, so we can say that this secant x is 2 over 1, where 2 is the hypotenuse and 1 is the adjacent side. So here's where we're at. And of course, we also mentioned that this is all in quadrant 4. Okay, so that's going to affect our signs a little bit of our values. Okay, so here's angle x. And we said that secant is 2, which is the hypotenuse, over 1, which is adjacent. But we need to find the opposite side, right? And since we're in quadrant 4, the opposite side is going to be a negative. Okay, so we use the Pythagorean theorem, right? And here we found 2 squared equals to 1 squared plus x squared. And we solve for x. And we get a negative square root 3. And again, it's negative because we're in quadrant 4 and the y value is negative. Okay, so we have to use that sign properly. Okay, so now we found sine 2x. Now let's look at the other two double angle formulas for cosine 2x. And so we're looking at cosine. You can use any one of the 3 formulas that we looked at. So I chose 1 minus 2 sine squared x. But you could choose any one of the other 2 for cosine 2x and you would get the same answer. Okay, so this would be 1 minus 2. And for sine, now sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that makes this negative square root 3 over 2. Parentheses squared. Now this sign here, this squared here, that's the same thing as if you had that parentheses squared outside there like that. So we're going to square our negative square root 3 over 2. Notice the negative, the square root 3, and the 2 are all in parentheses. Okay, so that makes this 1 minus, and of course we have to operate the exponent first. So that'll be 3 over 4. And we can cancel 2 into 4, right? And that's a 2. So we've got 1 minus 3 over 2. So we can change that 1 to a 2 over 2. And that gives us a negative 1/2 for our answer. Okay, so that's cosine 2x. Now let's look at tangent 2x for the same problem. And tangent 2x is 2 tangent x over 1 minus tangent squared x. So that means that we're going to use 2, and now tangent in this triangle is going to be opposite over adjacent. Tangent x equals to opposite over adjacent. So this will be, and opposite we said is negative square root 3, adjacent is 1. And that's going to be over 1 minus, and then